There we go. Combo Nation, what is up, everybody? This is Grown B and Batman 123 Rock, and we are talking about season six and partially season seven. Because of COVID, season six got cut short, and they picked up and kind of finished the plot out in season seven. So basically, we're going to be talking about what I believe is 19 episodes technically in season six, and then I think what 3 episodes into season seven, the first three are
hmm
technically the back half. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. We're going to go ahead and give our initial ratings of the season as usual, and then we're going to go in. We're going to talk about everything, talk about the best character moments, talk about just kind of the few things that we kind of grasp most from the season. Then we're going to let you guys go after we get our final review, and then at that point, I think we will pretty much be caught up with everything Flash related for the most part until we eventually start talking about the things that are going on in the current season. So my initial rating for this season, um, I'd say season six was it's somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. There's some stuff that I feel like didn't really work. I think the best seasons of The Flash are always the seasons with the most interesting and the most compelling villains, and unfortunately, I don't feel like we have that in either half of the season. I do like that they're starting to go to this whole breaking the season villains up into kind of two different guys, right? Or two different people. And so at this point, the first half we're dealing with blood work, and then the second half we're dealing with Mirror Master, who's a great Flash villain, which I would have liked for them to kind of handle that a little bit. I would say a lot better than it was actually handled. But all in all, I'll save my final review for when we get an opportunity to kind of discuss everything. But right now, I'm pretty set on on it being somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7.5. What about you, Batman?
I'm gonna go with a five.
Okay. So we have a we have the this character Ramsey, who ultimately becomes Bloodwork, who is kind of obsessed with this idea of immortality, right? He's obsessed with immortality, and it's mainly because I think what is it? His mom gets sick. I'm not sure if it's cancer or what,
Yeah,
but it's a terminal illness, cancer basically.
yeah.
And so he's trying to find a way to cure her. And he's trying all these different things, and he's studying blood and trying to figure out, how to save his mom. And that's something that I feel like we all can relate to. And I think they were kind of doubling down on us being able to relate to how we would want to save our mother. I think my biggest issue with it is I think they really go hard and heavy on that little bit of empathy that we're supposed to have for that character. And I think just as an adult in general, I'm just kind of over the whole here's a villain and he's doing bad stuff, he's doing evil things, he's hurting the people around him, but let me show you why you should feel sorry for him. Like, I'm kind of over that now at this point in my watching. I rather just have an evil guy who's just evil, who just does things because that's what he wants, and he just has his own kind of sense of morality and how he can achieve getting what he wants. Like, those are the kind of villains that I'm into a little bit more these days. And so it was difficult for me to really kind of connect with that character, but at the same time, I just feel like he they took it maybe a step and a half further than they should have, as far as just him kind of being crazy. I think ultimately some of the stuff that he was experimenting with caused him to be a little more insane than he otherwise would. But there's even a point where he kind of develops his own hatred towards his mom because his mom just decided, you know what, I fought long enough. It doesn't look like I'm going to beat this illness. I'm just going to, pass on. I want it to be my decision. And he doesn't vibe with that. So he ends up hating his own mother. And so at that point, well, you hate your own mom. That was the only thing that was having me empathize with you in the first place, is because, this love for, your mom, which is supposed to be your only way of really connecting with us. Once they take that away, the back half, I mean the second part of the first part becomes less watchable. I become less interested in it. What about you, Batman? What were your kind of takeaways from that first half of the season?
After his mom dies, he has the same illness, so he's trying to cure himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he uses dark matter, but by doing so, turns him. Uh, it's kind of hard to say. He's like a dark matter absorber. Like he absorbs dark matter, and he can basically make zombies. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and have his own army. I mean, he does it to the Flash at one point. Uh,
Yeah.
he takes over Barry, and they end up saving him, obviously. But yeah, the he's all right as a villain. I mean, I've seen worse villains, but you know,
I definitely would have rather seen him in more like a 3 episode arc or something like that, where they kind of really just tell that whole story in a few episodes, than what I think they spent like 10 episodes on it, something like that, right? They spend a long time on it, maybe 8. Maybe they just spend the whole first half and they leave it alone. But I just don't think it. I don't think that story had enough depth to it to carry a whole first half of a season, unfortunately. Um, and so I think the in order to break out of in order to in order to get out of being controlled, he had to expose part of the blood work, whatever that was controlling him and making people zombies and things like that. He had to expose the Speed Force to it. And ultimately, down the line, we realized that, okay, now the Speed Force is dying basically. And so that's kind of what the entire back half of the season is about. The Speed Force dying and how it's affecting Barry. And then that's when we start to learn a little bit more about the villain for the back half of the season, which is um, it's
Eva McCulloch
yeah, it's Eva McCulloch, but they play it.
and Joseph Carver.
Yeah, they play it like it's another guy as well. So unless you have anything else to say about the bloodwork plots, we can go ahead and jump into that.
There are some things that happen before that. We get introduced to Chester. Um, Black holes start appearing around Central City. Apparently, it's him who's causing it. They put him in like some, container or something to contain the energy. Eventually, they help him out. Um, Another point, Frost takes the wheel with Caitlin, kind of
Yes. Mm-hmm.
tries to make her own life. Gypsy was killed by an evil Cisco doppelganger. That was probably one of the most interesting episodes because her dad shows up and, you know, tells Cisco. He's dating Camilla at the time, so,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
awkward, but that gets wrapped up. Nashwells shows up, um, and, the whole the whole time he's there, he's investigating the monitor, and because he doesn't trust him. But then you find out he was conned into releasing the anti-monitor, and that causes crisis.
Yeah.
Um, but that's another podcast.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, Uh, the blood work, the end of that arc was all right. I mean, they put him away because he's what's it called?
Meta.
Yeah, he's a meta. They help all the people who were zombified, I believe. And you know, off on to the next thing.
Yeah. I think this. I think the main thing about the second half, I mean, they were really focused on, fixing the Speed Force and trying to get, everything back in order, for the most part. And then we have, these. What's her husband's name again? Eva's husband's name?
Joseph.
We have Joseph, who is, and I can't, man. It feels like I can't quite remember what he was doing before she kind of took over, or before the story started to kind of focus on her. I think a big thing was he was. It seemed like his plot was less about dealing with the Flash and more about dealing with like Iris and what Iris had going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, she started investigating into Black Hole, the organization that he runs.
Mm-hmm.
By doing so, made her a target. And before this, pretty important point, especially for season 7. Um, there's a girl, a meta named Allegra, and she's wanted for murder. Um, Come to find out, Cecile is interrogating her, because of her powers. She can basically tell that she's innocent. And they
Mm-hmm.
find out her evil cousin Esperanza, also known as Ultraviolet, was the one who did it. So, um, you know, they put her away and they clear her name. At that point, Cecile quits her job as DA, becomes a metahuman defense attorney, um, and Iris creates the Central City Citizen.
Yeah.
And you know, Camilla is works with her, and then Allegra is the intern.
Yeah.
So basically, they start investigating Black Hole, and they find out that it's led by Joseph from McCulloch Tech. Iris goes snooping around in the office, where she shouldn't be, and she gets pulled into a mirror.
Yes.
And that starts the most drawn out plot I think I've seen in the entire series.
Yeah,
But
basically it's a long period of time and where there's a fake Iris, and
yeah,
this fake Iris is going around and she is just pretending to be Iris and living Iris's life.
yeah.
And no one can tell that it's not her. I think at some point, who figures it out? I want to say that it's Barry.
Camilla finds it out, figures it out, and doing so, Iris puts her into the mirror as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Um,
Camilla is the first one to figure it out. And I think it's because she took a
a picture.
picture of
Yeah.
her, and she, I guess the mirror people don't show up in pictures. So,
Yeah.
Camilla was like, "Man, something is just not right about her." And so And I think the main, and I think what started making Camilla be really suspicious is just how adamant the mirror Iris was on getting her picture taken. Like she would get really aggressive, like, "Oh no, delete that picture that you took of me. What the hell is wrong with you?" type shit, right? When she was never really like that. And so ultimately, Camilla ends up finding out, but gets herself thrown into the Mirrorverse. But I can't remember how Barry found out.
Finds out way towards the end.
Yeah, like I know he finds out way way late, but I thought
I
there
don't
was
remember either.
I thought there was a part of this of that season. Well, yeah, definitely. Because I think the only the last three episodes. So only the first
Mm.
three episodes are a part of that arc. So he finds out, and he spends a lot of time basically trying to get her back. Which I agree with you. This is pretty drawn out. It's pretty, I don't know. I don't know why it seems like the Flash writers have gone this route of I don't know if they are getting pressure from like the networks or from like Greg or something to hit a certain quota in terms of episodes or what the CW is doing, but they're definitely dragging out plot points. That is a big pattern in season six, in season seven, in season six, and in season five. And so hopefully we kind of get something better going into the future seasons if we're going to have a couple of more. So far, I think we know eight is for sure, but I don't think we know if we're going to get a season nine or not. But yeah, this plot definitely drags on, and honestly, I was also frustrated at having to worry about Barry getting his speed back again. I think this is what maybe the maybe this is the third time. This is either the second or the third time that we've had to deal with Barry not having his speed or worried about not having his speed for an extended period of time. And so, yeah, unfortunately, that is something that we struggled through in that season.
There are a couple highlights. We finally get to find out who Sue Dearborn is, the girl that Ralph has been trying to find, and they end up going to this party. It's like a James Bond episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Ultraviolet is with the bad guy, whatever his name is, I don't remember. Um, and Barry just basically walks out drunk, and it's a really funny moment. He's like, oh, you got that Mortal Kombat vibe going, and basically he whoops her without his speed, which is cool because he can't use his speed because they're undercover, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In front of an audience, he's not allowed to do that. So he handles himself pretty well.
I think that is a
Uh,
pretty good highlight of the season.
and they finally take the dude out, and find out that Sue isn't just a diamond thief. She's been working for Joseph because he uh, he threatened her family.
Yep.
Um, Towards the end of the season, they find a way to get her free, but um, that's touch on that in a minute. Another highlight is the Gorilla Grodd episode. Always like seeing
That is
Grodd.
a that wa- yeah, that was a nice episode. Is that the one
Um,
where Barry is somehow inside of
Eobard.
Grodd's mind?
Yeah, yeah. He's in his mind trying to help him escape a mental prison that
Yes,
Solvar
okay.
created for him.
Mhm.
Um,
That's actually a really good episode. I might go rewatch that episode after after I catch up on literally everything Arrowverse. But that's actually a really good episode. I liked the team up between Grodd and I don't know why I keep wanting to say Oliver, but Grodd
Barry.
and Barry. That was just a good solid episode. I liked seeing them work together. Uh,
Yeah.
Barry, Grant Gustin has become not become, but he has grown into such a great actor, especially with the
Hmm.
way that he shows certain emotions. I don't know if Stephen Amell kind of guided him on that, or if he's just always kind of had that in him. But he has he definitely carries. He carries now. With them kind of writing Cisco a little bit differently. Caitlin doesn't have as big of a role as she's had in the past. Tom Cavanaugh changes so much that it's kind of difficult to really kind of lean on him because he's always trying to be kind of a different version of Harrison Wells. And so right now, performance wise, Barry really carries the show. And I think he did just a really, really solid job in the Gorilla Grodd episode. helping him take down Solivar.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment where he's met with Eobard. I'm not entirely sure how it got to that point. I don't remember. But
He's not actually meeting with Eobard. The only person that he can interact with while he's inside of Grodd's mind is Grodd, but he can see Grodd's memories while he's inside of Grodd's mind. And I think they
that's right.
were, it was basically just kind of a flashback of Grodd being in the presence of Harrison Wells, who was Eobard at the time, and him kind of making plans with Caitlyn and things like that. So that was actually very interesting. It's cool to see Tom Cavanaugh return to playing a version of Harrison Wells that's actually Eobard. Like it's so crazy how he's able to do that because it's so as many similarities as they have, it's so different when you're literally watching him play Eobard Harrison Wells, right? And so I really like that about his range and his ability to kind of do that. Do you want
Mm.
to, speaking of Eobard, we can go
This
ahead and
leads
jump
me.
into the Eobard thing, and then I guess we
Yeah,
can kind of jump to the end of the
this
season
leads
if you want.
to the next point. Basically, Nashwell starts to, you know, see a bunch of wells,
Yes.
like visions of them. And spoiler for Crisis on Infinite Earths if you haven't watched it,
Yeah, we do have to
you should.
unfortunately spoil that in order for this to make any
We do. We
sense.
don't really have a choice.
Yeah, literally.
Earth came together as all the multiverses were wiped, so it becomes Earth Prime. Supergirl, all the superheroes in one place. A bunch of stuff is rewritten. Villains come back as heroes and random. But so by doing that, they wiped all the Harrison Wells from the multiverse, and they're all living in Nash Wells. Um, Nash Wells starts to take interest in Allegra, and Allegra is kind of like weirded out. She's like, "Why? Like, why are you so like always on me?" And she's weirded out.
Yeah.
But um, so eventually, we find out it's not just at Harrison Wells; it's also Eobard
Yes.
is there too, and he
Mm-hmm.
takes control of Nash. So Cecile, Barry have to go in his mind and get rid of him.
Yes.
And to do that, he has to face one of his hardest memories, um, conquer it basically, and that's Allegra,
Yes.
doppelganger. They go on a mission to find something. It's kind of like it's like Tomb Raider, Uncharted kind of.
Yes.
Um, she dies, and he feels responsible for it. And he basically has to overcome that guilt, and by doing so, they get rid of Eobard. Um,
That's
and
also kind of, I mean, as much as I like to see Eobard and I like his interactions with Barry because I feel like they are some of the strongest. Like Barry interacting with Eobard and then Oliver interacting with Malcolm Merlin are always really strong scenes. But I think the way that they handled it with the whole Nash Wells and the exorcism and him trying to entice Nash Wells to kind of give in to his anger or his disappointment or whatever, and how that somehow strengthens Eobard's spirit inside of him. I really kind of thought that that was all stupid. It seemed like, and I know that they do it. They almost always force Eobard into certain storylines because he's a fan favorite character. I thought this instance was just kind of dumb. And so I thought it was an interesting way to kind of put Eobard's name back out there so that we know, okay, you're still going to continue to see this guy. I know we didn't put him in Crisis, and I know that makes you mad, but here we have this, right? I get all that, but at the end of the day, I thought that that was kind of, yeah, I didn't like it.
so at this point, a couple more episodes pass, metas and stuff. We get to the point. where Barry, I don't, like you said, I don't know if you remember. I sure as heck don't remember how he finds out. Um, what's it called?
That Iris is not actually
Iris.
Iris.
It's not actually Iris. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
Um,
how he finds out either.
when he finds out, they're in the apartment, and she goes like full Terminator on him with the freaking glass blades as her hands, and attacks him. And then Barry uses his, you know, instead of using his speed, he uses his other power, which is love, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
connection. He tries to, you know, tell her, you don't have to be this. You can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's really emotional. And then Eva's like, yeah, no, and just kills her, just erases her completely. Um,
That being
uh,
said, at some point in earlier, it was revealed that that Eva McCulloch was inside of the Mirrorverse, pulling the strings all along, and she ultimately decides to just continue to be evil. And
yeah,
had she broken out at that point when she kills Iris, or she kill Iris from within the Mirrorverse?
she kills her from within.
Okay.
But before then, um, Iris, and Mir Camilla, and Mir Singh, by the way, was also put in the Mirrorverse.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Singh.
Yes.
Uh, they go and confront Bloodwork, and they get some blood of his blood, so they can use the dark matter on the mirror to get her out. Um, and I can't remember if it works, but Bloodwork just stays put. Um, like he has a chance to escape, but he doesn't. So that was interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
and I thought that that would come back around to actually be something, and to this at this moment, I don't believe it has.
it has not, no. Um, but once Mirror Iris dies, she finally gets out of the mirror, Eva, and oh wait, no, hang on. That's right. She is out of the mirror when she kills
That's what I
Iris.
thought.
Yeah, she shoots glass. Like Barry stands in front of her, and she shoots glass through Barry, and it goes into Iris and kills her. Um,
Mirror
Barry
Iris.
Barry gets like whooped, like
Yeah.
badly whooped, because he can't use his speed
Nope.
because he's running low, and you know she can control literally every mirror, glass, anything.
Yes.
Um,
Anything with a reflective surface, she controls.
once she gets out, she's like, okay, I'm gonna go kill my husband. So she does. She tries to do that. She goes to McCulloch, and Team Flash knows, so they try to protect him. But there's this like big fight at McCulloch Tech with Ultraviolet and a bunch of other mutants, metas. You know, Sue shows up to fight, and no, this is the finale, by the way. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not the finale. This was a season 6 finale, but technically it's only the fourth
Episode.
episode
Yeah.
from the end.
Yeah.
But really, we get to the point where Eva, she kills him, and she frames Sue for it.
Yes.
So Sue and Ralph leave the series, and during COVID, not COVID, sorry, uh, during that point in time where they took a break, the actor was fired. So they had to find a way to kind of, sideline him, which they do for the most part. At the beginning of season 7, he I guess he got his face melted or something, and he has to
Yeah.
wear
He
this like
has.
helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He has some sort of weird
uh,
accident.
yeah. Um, basically, that's how they took care of that. And Barry's trying to get his speed back, so they're trying to make an artificial speed force. And keep in mind, at this point, Mir, or not Mir, Iris and Camilla, they're all still in the mirror verse. And Iris disappeared in the episode before season 7, and she reappeared in a certain place in the Mirrorverse. I don't know. All that stuff's really confusing.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually she finds Camilla and everything, and Barry. What was it? What? Oh man, I don't remember. Something happens to Barry. Um, oh, that's right. They take all of his emotions away,
Oh,
so he can
yes, that's right.
just.
Yep, that's exactly right. The artificial
Yeah.
speed force, I think it was actually Cisco who kind of programmed the artificial speed force to kind of tinker with Barry's emotions because at first I guess they thought it was a weakness, and so did Barry. And so when the artificial speed force connects, Barry is kind of like he's just like this kind of godlike character, but he doesn't have any emotions, right? And so they basically destroy the artificial speed force, and they have to try to figure out, whoa, wait a second, maybe the speed force was never dead all along. So let's use the regular speed force and connect it to this, I don't know, generator or whatever device they had.
Well, I mean,
Um,
Barry gained the power of speed thinking. That's what happened, and basically all of his emotions started to disappear because he was becoming so smart, and eventually he can oversee like how conversations were going to go, and he was wrong, by the way, like of how Cisco was reacting. This was like calculated. He's like, I calculate this is how this conversation would have went, so I'm going to do this.
yeah,
And then they give Killer Frost Velocity 9 to fight the Flash or give her speed. I don't know. It's all over the place, that episode, in my opinion. And what's it called? He officially so there's a kicker to the thing. Um, you can only save one person. So it's between Iris and Camilla and Singh. And basically, if he saves Iris, he leaves Camilla to die. That's Cisco's girl.
yeah.
And he does that. He does exactly that. He
Say,
rescues Iris. And by doing so, um, he brings her into the mirrorverse, out of the mirrorverse, and she's having like withdrawals or something. I think she's dying,
yeah,
I
she
believe.
he was trying to pull her out, and I guess she rejected it. She ended up like I don't know, like
Mm,
staying in there for a second, for like a little while longer or some shit.
yeah. They finally he gets her out, and he realizes that this is uh, kind of has a reality check. So he destroys the speed thing, and then he goes into like
And just
shock or
yeah,
something.
just normal Barry mode. He comes
Yeah,
out, and Iris is pretty much like knocked out, and Iris being knocked out and damaged causes him to say, "Oh man, I want to be Barry again." So he decides to be Barry again.
and they're wondering how they're going to get the speed back, and they're like, "Wait, you know how you said that Iris is your lightning rod? Maybe she has powers of the Speed Force. You and her together can make your own Speed Force." So that's what they do. They make their own Speed Force together. Iris is back. Barry's got his speed back, and Eva makes her last attempt. Basically, she wants everybody to live in the Mirrorverse. She starts pulling people in randomly. It's
Mm-hmm.
chaotic. It's absolutely chaotic.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually, like I said, Barry uses his best superpower, which is love and connection. He tries to reason with Eva because, uh, plot twist, we find out that Eva is not actually Eva. Eva died. We find out that Joseph was telling the truth.
The whole
She
time.
died
Yeah.
that night.
Mm-hmm.
She was the mirror version of her in the mirror. Um, and, she's trying to come to terms with that.
Yeah.
So they like out her during the Speed episode too. They like put a thing on. She's like on live TV talking, and they put the video thing of her being pushed into it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
That
she
was
had just stumbled across a video, convenient video that showed that you are not who you say
mhm.
you are. You're actually a mirror woman, and so it was actually I think it was actually Barry who did that
It was Barry who did that. Yeah, because
while he
he was like,
was evil
this is the
Barry.
statistics that this will work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
but yeah,
so
by doing so, oh my God, we skipped over something super important. I'm so sorry. It's hard to keep up, but
yeah.
Nash dies. He
Yes.
To make the Speed Force, he has to die because
Yes.
he has those particles or something.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why he let that happen to Barry. And Allegra gets really pissed. Um, and he tells her, and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And that's a whole nother thing. But it's really emotional. They know they have to say goodbye, and by doing so, guess what? We're saying goodbye to not just Nash. We're saying goodbye to HR, Sherlock, all of them. We're saying goodbye to every Wells
Yep.
ever be. And basically, Barry and each Wells have a heart to heart, and everybody has heart to heart, says goodbye. Um, that happens just before the Speed of Thought episode. I think that
Yeah.
was like our first episode back.
Yeah.
Um,
So he died for no reason.
yeah, essentially, if you
Yeah. He
think
died
about
for
it.
yeah he
But
died for no reason.
in the end, uh, Barry reasons with Eva, and she puts everything back to normal. She destroys all the evil mirror
Mirrorverse
people,
portals that were making evil doppelgangers.
evil doppelgangers. Yeah, she destroys the evil doppelgangers. She lets everybody out. So Singh and Camilla are out. Everybody's out, and she kind of just goes off and does her own thing, right? She goes in the Mirrorverse, I believe.
Yeah, she goes off and does something. I don't think she
Or wait,
dies. No, does she die?
no, doesn't Fuerza show up? Right? I
Yes.
don't remember.
Some
I
some
can't remember.
something crazy happens.
Something crazy happens.
But I mean that for the most part that's the plot.
Yeah, and then we get a thing at the end of the episode. I think this was the end of the Speed of Thought episode. Uh, they show a little teaser of the night that Eobor took control of Harrison Wells,
Mhm.
and we see that H.R. Wells is back. Like the OG Harrison Wells gets the knowledge of every Harrison Wells into him, and he can go through any point in time.
Yeah,
So
which was pretty cool.
it is cool.
Like they literally show his body being resurrected and fusing with the particles and everything, and I thought that was nice.
Um, but he helped Barry with all that. They say goodbye to him at the end of the episode, and then we start with season 7. Uh, Technically, season 7, episode 1. But yeah, that's really it. Uh,
It was a tough little run.
it was.
I mean,
Um,
considering even the most interesting things weren't as great, kind of looking back on them, I think I'm sitting at about a 6.5 again for this season. As we were saying before, it's only downhill from here.
mm, mm-hmm,
So,
mm.
what about you? Still a 5 or maybe a 3?
No, I. It's not a 3. It's not a 4. It's a 5. I mean, there are moments in the season that I enjoyed, and for that, I can give it a 5. If not, I probably would have gone lower. But honestly, the first half wasn't terrible. It was all right, but once you get to the second half and they draw out the Mirrorverse plot, and when I say draw, I mean draw out for like 10 episodes,
Yeah.
and technically more than 10 episodes because
It goes into the
you
next
have the
season.
last 3 episodes, so technically it's like 13.
Yeah.
Way too long, way too long, and it just I lost interest at one point. I was like, because every episode that came on after that, I was like, is she gonna come out? Oh, she's not. Was she gonna get out this episode? No. Oh, no, she's not.
Maybe this, maybe
And
this.
it just became a repetitive,
Yeah.
tedious, and at one point I was like, okay, she gets out, whenever.
Yeah.
And it was literally the second to last episode of the season, if you think about it.
It really was.
And that's the problem. That's my biggest issue with season 6, and that's why it will stay at a 5. Um,
I feel you.
yeah.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Thank y'all for pulling up to the podcast once again. If you like the video, like it. If you think someone else might like it, share it. And if you want to see more, we really hope that you guys will subscribe. And we'll see y'all next time.